I do radio myself.
Let me just introduce you now to the listening audience. Everybody out there, my friend Mike Dupree should be coming in very soon, hopefully. And I'm interviewing Greg Martin. Greg Martin is from the Kentucky Headhunters. And if you don't know that band, I suggest you look them up on Google. Greg Martin, welcome to the Hamilton Radio and Docg and Mike Dupree show.
Docg, it's such a pleasure being with you today. Thank you.
Pleasure too. And you say you're in Kentucky, correct?
I'm in Glasgow, Kentucky, which is about 25 miles east of Bowling Green. And for you folks that some folks may know, Bowling Green is the home of the Corvette plant. And what else has happened in Bowling Green? Well, the Everly Brothers had a cool song back in 1967 called Bowling Green, written by Jesse Winchester. And it's a bigger town. I live in Glasgow. It's fairly big here. You know, we got a White Castle. That's good.
You sound like a music guy, like I am. You kind of know a little bit about your area. You know about the music, and you know about how you structured everything. Wow, that's amazing.
I'm like yourself, man. I'm a music freak. That's my addiction. My addiction. I wish I could show you around the room. There was like 3.5 walls full of CDs, and then there's vinyl behind me. There's vinyl in the garage. There's 3 stereos hooked up, one in the garage. I've got a Kenwood in the garage. I've got a Pioneer 1250 in here, and I've got a 10, I think it's a 1050 in the other room. Some old vintage stereo stuff, you know. And I'm an old vintage guy, so there you go.
Well, we got a phone call. I don't know if it's Mike or not. Let me see.
Okay.
Yeah, hey, how you doing, Doc?
Oh, it's Mike. Okay, couldn't get through, Mike.
No, nope.
Oh man,
sorry, but this is Greg Martin of the Kentucky Headhunters. Mike Dupree.
Hello, Mike.
Halloween Kills.
Hey, Greg, how you doing, buddy? It's good to hear from you.
I'm great, man. I'm sorry about the confusion on the, but hey, we're here.
Hey,
man, I don't see you. I can't see you.
I know it's it's such a letdown with this. I have such problems with Zoom, and of course my iPhone, it won't even allow Zoom on my phone. But anyhow, I don't know what Doc has asked you yet, but I'll tell you what, you guys, your history goes way back. I was surprised to find out. I've been a fan ever since '86, but your band actually goes back to 1968 with the Itchy Brothers.
Yes, sir. I met Richard Young through a 4-H talent show. I got into music earlier than that. Like every other kid, you know, I was piddling around with the guitar. Then that one Sunday evening, back in February 1964, on Ed Sullivan's show, we see the Beatles. And I thought, wow, I didn't even know what to make of it. It was so overwhelming at first. And, you know, I started piddling with guitar, and then my brother and my cousin had guitars there at the house. There was a Stratocaster and ES335. And I would sneak up there while they were at work, and I would teach myself, Day Tripper, What I Say by Ray Charles, Daydream by the Lovin' Spoonful, you know, whatever was popular at the time. And so, you know, I got into guitar, and then in '68, I saw the Lovin' Spoonful in 1966, November 1966, at Memorial Auditorium in Louisville, and that was the original lineup with Zal, John, Joe, and Joe Butler and Steve Boone. And of course, that planted another huge seed. And then about that time, my dad decided he wanted to move us from Louisville all the way down to Metcalfe County. At the time, I wasn't sure what to make of that move, but it became apparent later on that I was supposed to meet Richard and Fred Young, who are my bandmates now. And so in the fall of '68, there was a band out of Louisville that I had just seen called Elysian Field. They had a single out on Imperial Records. It was a big regional hit around here. And I don't know, when I saw those guys, it immediately, I said, this is it. This is what I want to do for sure. The Lovin' Spoonful was a big hit. The Beatles were, but when I saw Elysian Field in Louisville, that did it. And like I say, about 2 or 3 weeks later, I get on the school bus, and my cousin Larry says, there's a guy just moved to Edmonton from North Midcalf, and he plays guitar, and we're going to do a 4-H talent show. Would you be interested in doing the show with him? And I'd been playing guitar, but I had never played in front of an audience. Well, lo and behold, it was Richard Young, who you guys kind of know. And me and Richard met at the cafeteria kitchen, and we sat around and played Born to Be Wild. And we played Revolution by the Beatles, Hey Jude. We played Sunshine of Your Love. He said, okay, yeah, we can do this. And so we did the little talent show. And after that, Richard said, hey, I've got a band with my brother Fred and my cousin Anthony. Would you like to come down and jam? And I said, sure. So I made the trek down to the Young's farm in the end of November of 1970. I'm sorry, end of 1968. And them guys already had a little sound. They were family. They had a groove. And I just jumped in there with them and held on. And that's the beginnings of that was the Truce. We were called the Truce initially. And then we changed name to Aftermath from the Rolling Stones album. And then Mandrake Velvet. And then actually Itchy Brother came to be. The name came about in 74, but we had recorded a little 45 record at the end of 73, Shotgun Effie and Rock and Roller, just an independent release. And we needed a name. So we come up with the name Itchy Brother, which was named after a cartoon character from King Leonardo and Friends, for anybody that remembers cartoons, way back.
Yeah, that's going back.
Yeah, that goes way back, man. It goes way
You're giving
back.
us some history, Greg. While you're giving us the information, you're giving us a little bit of history lesson here too.
Well, there's quite a lot of history, and it just seemed like fate meeting Richard and Fred and Anthony, of course, initially. I mean, there again, at the end of 66, I see the Lovin' Spoonful in the November of 66, and my dad comes home from work one day and says, okay, we're moving. And I'm like, oh, why? Because Louisville had quite a music scene. But it was the greatest thing to ever happen, because once we moved down there was nothing for me to do but listen to radio and a few records I had. And there was an old Stella guitar on this farmhouse we lived at, and you could shoot arrows off of it. The strings were so high. But I was able to pick out songs on it. And, it was like the Apostle John being put on Patmos. There was nothing else to do. He wrote Revelation. I just learned how to play guitar.
What other instruments do you play, Greg?
Well, I play bass. As most guitar players, they profess to play bass. I don't know how good a bass player I am. I kind of play old style bass. I play mandolin a little bit. I know a few chords on the banjo, but really electric guitar and acoustic guitar is my main thing. I can't play keyboards at all. I just don't have the feel for it.
Yeah, it is a feel. I have that problem too, because I can play a little guitar, but keyboards is a little harder, and you got to have that feel, that vibration.
Yeah,
or the fingers.
Yeah. The fingers. Yeah, I watch these keyboard players, and it's just effortless, for these guys. It's amazing. I was watching somebody on TV the other day. I'm going, how do they do that? And they hardly ever make a mistake. The good ones, anyway. I'm sure people start out. I make mistakes every now and then, but if you make a mistake, just hit it twice, and it becomes a part of your repertoire.
Go ahead, Mike. Any other questions for Greg?
Yeah. I'll tell you what. You guys originally started out with the name Headhunters, correct? What I was wondering is what brought the change to be the Kentucky Head. Obviously, you guys are from Kentucky, but I always thought that was funny. I remember when you were just the Headhunters, and then all of a sudden you guys were Kentucky Headhunters. And I have a cassette tape somewhere of you guys. I picked it up. I forget where I was at, but I think I'm not sure, but it's a little cassette tape, and it has like a pink colored guitar, pink and white
You got one of
cover.
those?
Yeah.
You're talking about this
gotta
right
be-
here? You talking about this?
Yeah, that's the one.
Where did you get that?
I picked it up at a music store in New York City back when I was up there, I think in the 90s sometime. I said, oh my God, I got to have this.
That's freaking amazing.
It
That's
is
amazing.
because you only sold it at your concerts, right? Where you were
Oh
performing
yeah,
at?
yeah. That that's weird how that made it up to New York. Yeah, that matter of fact, that little headstock of that guitar was Merle Travis's Guild guitar that they called the Traveler. And wow, that you're the first one I've talked to who's had that cassette. And there was even a 45 before this. Uh, the Headhunters. It was an early version of Walk Softly and Oh Lonesome Me, not the same versions that ended up. Now a lot of people don't realize these are the same versions of these 8 songs that are on here. They ended up on the Mercury Records release of Picking on Nashville. We added 2 songs and we went back and remixed and tweaked these songs, but they're the same thing. So how did we? So in 1986, I'll backtrack a little bit. In March of '86, me and Richard and Fred decided we wanted to put Itchy Brother back together. And when we went back to our cousin Anthony, he wasn't really interested at the time in doing it. And he'd just gotten a new job and he was married. He just didn't really, we'd been through a lot with the end of Itchy Brother, not securing a recording contract. We were really close to getting a contract back around in 1980, 81. One of the labels was Swan Song Records. And so, really after the 81 debacle that didn't happen, we took a break from things. I ended up going to Nashville working with a country artist by the name of Ronnie McDowell. Fred went to work for a country artist named Sylvia. Richard went to work for Acuff Rose writing songs. And we still would get together, hang, and we even played a couple little reunion shows. But in '86, we were really missing each other. And we just planned to put a little side project together. I was going to still work with Ronnie. And we put the Headhunters together in the spring of '86. The name came from a book by Robert Palmer called Deep Blues. And Robert Palmer had went back and discovered that Muddy Waters, when he moved to Chicago, that he put a band together with James Cotton, Little Walter, and a few of the guys. And they would go around to different clubs and ask to set in. And they were so good that they would end up getting the other group's job. And people call them, they call it headhunting when somebody goes up against either a guitar player goes up against another guitar player or a harmonica player or a band. And people just started calling them the Headhunters. So we loved that name. And we said, okay, we know there was a group called Cannibal and the Headhunters back in the 60s, Land of a Thousand Dances. And at that time, we don't think they were around. So we took the name the Headhunters, and that was because of the Robert Palmer book. And we went forward and we released this. I'm guessing, I'm not really sure what year this came out, but I'm going to guess 1988, 87, 88. And we started shopping it around. It got into the hands of a gentleman at Sony Records, and he was really hot on signing us and loved what we were doing. He loved that cassette. And so we saw that we were getting label interest. So we set up a showcase at Douglas Corner in Nashville. And this would have been the latter part of '88. And same day or afternoon that showcase happened, Leroy Parnell was there doing the showcase for another label. And so when this gentleman from Sony saw us live, he said, "You guys don't sound like the same band. You sound more like a rock band." And I don't know what I could really do with you guys, being that I'm running a country label. And we'd already matured a little bit since we put this cassette out. But lo and behold, there was other labels there. Harold Shedd was there from Mercury Nashville, and he had just taken over as president, and he loved what we were doing. And he took one of these cassettes, and we found out last fall that he had told somebody that night when he saw us, he said, "I'm going to sign that band." And even Leroy Parnell, when he saw us that night, he said, "Oh, heavy metal bluegrass," you know. And that's how we got signed. So we started going through the early part of 1989. We started going through record negotiations. Mercury they decided they were going to sign the band, and lawyers got involved. And by the late spring of '89, we signed our deal. And it came to the point where we found out that Herbie Hancock had a band called the Headhunters. His backup band were called the Headhunters. And so we were like, didn't want to cause any legal problems. Somebody, and I can't think of the guy's name, he suggested we add Kentucky to the front of it. And we went, sure, why not? Even though Doug and Ricky weren't from Kentucky, they were cool with it. And thus we become the Kentucky Headhunters and left just the Headhunters. That was it. It was because we didn't want to get in trouble. And I guess it was because of Herbie Hancock's band, because they were doing solo records as well from him. Yeah.
And how about as far as your days at Grand Ole Opry? I know that they didn't want to let you in, but I think it was Bill Monroe that pulled strings and helped get you guys in, because you did his song "Walk Softly on This Heart of Mine," which is one of my favorite songs. Could you explain how he helped or what he did to get you in? Because I know there was a couple members of the Grand Ole Opry that was trying to keep you guys out because they were afraid of, I guess it was your look, the band's look. Which
I mean, there again, what was going on? We actually never did the Grand Ole Opry until this past December, 2021. When Bill Monroe was trying to get us on initially, there was some resistance from a couple of people, and supposedly Roy Acuff, and it's from good sources, he didn't like our hair, evidently, and he thought we were a bunch of hooligans, in which pretty calm band, really. I mean, we never, we weren't that wild, and I guess he put the brakes on that initially, and that was it, pretty much. I had done the Opry back in the '80s with Ronnie McDowell, a country artist, worked with, and twice, I believe. Me and Doug both had done it. Fred had done it with Sylvia. And what I remember about it back then, it was like a cattle call. You was like, bam, bam. And they had like these PV amplifiers on stage, and they had the knobs epoxied where you couldn't change the volume, So there's no way you could get your sound. So I knew that wasn't, honestly, if they weren't going to let us bring our amps anyway, and I knew that wasn't going to work for the Headhunters. But fast forward, sometime around between 2013 and 2015, they did come around and ask us again, but they wouldn't allow us to bring some small amps, and we politely declined and said thank you anyway. And I thought at that point that was it, and they, at that point, they weren't really, the staff at that time wasn't really wanting to work with us. But then they come around last summer, 2021, and offered us to do it. And they were a lot more accommodating. They were cool about us bringing small amps, and they were just as nice as they can be. And December 6th of last year, we did the Grand Ole Opry, did 3 songs, got a standing ovation. It was just one of the greatest things we've ever done together. And it'll actually show, I believe, in April on Circle TV, at least 2 of the songs. So it was a long ways getting there, But to answer your question, I guess it was Roy Acuff and maybe one other gentleman didn't really want us on. That's the only thing I know.
Yeah,
If you
that's
didn't-
amazing. That
I mean-
they would try to keep you off. Your music was, well, Southern rock is the best way I can explain it, but rockabilly is another word that I would use. And it was so benign for that time period in the 80s that there's so many other groups out there that were, you know, drug related kind of bands, and Kentucky Headhunters just wasn't that.
No,
You actually had a lot cleaner image, to say the least.
yeah, it was. I mean, when you look at it now, when you go back and, you know, at that point, we were a little different. But of course, Steve Earle, he was testing the waters, you know, with Copperhead Road. You know, he was, you know, he'd left the Guitar Town, the Exit O stuff, and he was, you know, he was rocking out more and causing ripples in Nashville, so to speak. We love Steve Earle. He's a great guy, man. Of course, Dwight Yoakam was doing his country, that real raw back to Bakersfield type of thing. And we just kind of came through that door. But, you know, back the early days of the Headhunters, I think there was more rockabilly in the sound. It seemed like in later years, we just kind of reverted back to what we used to do back in the 70s. I mean, we could play several different styles. I mean, we could do country, as you know. On the new album, there's a song called Let's Get Together and Fight, and that's just basically a country song like Ernest Tubb would have done, something like that. But on the new album, there's all kind of different styles represented. But early on, there was a lot more rockabilly and a lot of blues, and we got a little bit more rambunctious musically as we went along. I guess we got more confident, so to speak.
Yeah, the band had, I mean, you told me your Lovin' Spoonful, which is your influence, but who else in the band had different influences?
Well, collectively, I think we all could say we love the Beatles, you know.
Yeah,
We love
yeah,
the Beatles and the Rolling Stones.
right.
You know, the funny thing is we all love the same stuff pretty much. Now Fred Young is a big David Bowie and the Spiders of Mars fan. And he was a big Alice Cooper fan, which I love Alice Cooper. But, you know, Fred was into Captain Beefheart and stuff like that.
There's an oldie that you don't hear anymore.
What Captain Beefheart? Yeah,
You don't hear him on the radio ever. I play him every now and then, but yeah, you're right.
Man. Yeah. Everybody had different influences. You know, the cool thing is when Ricky came into the band, initially we started out 4-piece. It was the same band that's out there now. It was Doug, Richard, Fred, and myself. Then Ricky came in he was with us 3 or 4 years, but he was there for Picking on Nashville and Electric Barnyard. And his influences were he'd come out of bluegrass, folk music, country. He had rock in him too. But the Phelps boys, when we combined their country or vocals, their Arkansas influence, it brought something different to what me and Richard Fred did, you know. And it was just a cool mix. It was kind of like a Reese's cake, a Reese's buttercup, you know, putting chocolate and peanut butter together, so to speak.
So the Ballad of Davy Crockett, which was on Electric Barnyard.
Yes.
There are some of the hits. Let's go over some of the hits. One of them, of course, was Ballad of Davy Crockett. And then there was Only Daddy That'll Walk the Line, and Norman Greenbaum, 1969, Spirit in the Sky. Let's talk about that song a little bit.
Well, Spirit in the Sky was just something that we all heard when we were growing up and in high school. I believe that was 1970. I'm not sure, but that happened. The best I remember, we were at the Agora Ballroom in Ohio. We were playing, and one afternoon, a sound check, I got a guitar, guys. I don't know if you can hear it or not. Can you hear it, Long?
Yeah, can hear it.
Yeah, we just start off with this little.
That riff, yeah.
Yeah, and everybody just jumped in, and we came up with that at sound check, and then we put it in our repertoire, and it just, you know, immediately people loved it, and we just kept doing it. And then that would have probably been 1990, because we recorded it in early 1991. for Electric Barnyard. Yeah, that's what it was. And um, it was just part of our youth, and it just worked, and it felt good. It was kind of a boogie thing, and the funny thing is, we've got to know Norman a little bit, and Norman says our version is his favorite cover version.
Nice.
Now, funny thing is, we were in England touring the UK. I think this was like 2016. We were playing a motorcycle festival, and there was this gentleman on stage. He was like the MC. He was the wildest looking guy, had wild clothes. And somebody said, well, that's Docg. He had a group called the Medics. And if you think back, he had a version of Spirit in the Sky out in the 80s, a hit. And we went up to him and said, we've recorded it too. Do you want to get up and do it with us? So we did it together that day.
No, but Greg, this is so great, because what I always think about when somebody recreates a song that's already been done,
Sure.
a new generation now gets to love that song again. They get to enjoy that song again, and in your own version, in your own way. It's like a tribute to that artist. I always said it's a tribute to the artist, because you're redoing the song that was already done, but you're doing it into a different generation, and I love that.
Well, thank you. Most generally, what we do if we cover a song, we try to bring something different to it, like Walk Softly. We did our Headhunter treatment on that. Oh Lonesome Me. We did a different thing. And if you listen to Skip a Rope by Ensign Cargyle, we did that, we did it completely different. Is there any other covers on that album? I'm not sure about Picking on Nashville, but then, as you said, Only Daddy Ever Walked the Line, we just rocked it up, We just made it more of a loping thing.
Right.
So we always just try to bring our own little Headhunter thing to a song. Most generally, as you say, it is a tribute, and you have to be connected to the song and want to do it. But we don't try to copy anything note for note, like even back in Itchy Brother, we used to do Route 66 by Nat King Cole, written by Bobby Troop.
Sure, yeah.
And we used to do the original version was real jazzy. When we come up with this, the intro, he went through his whole thing where it was just a real rock type thing. And then we used to do Drive My Car by the Beatles. We rocked that up. We did a really cool version of Satisfaction by the Beatles, but we always just try to change them around.
The Stones.
Yeah.
Satisfaction.
Yep. To make it, we try to make the songs our own. But now Spirit in the Sky, we kind of almost stayed pretty close to that one. Not exactly, but we stayed pretty close.
Very cool. And Mike, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, Singing the Blues. I love you guys' version of that. And Oh Lonesome Me. That was another couple of my favorites that you guys did. Now, getting back to, I know we didn't touch on, did you ever get to meet Bill Monroe? You ever work with him at all?
Oh, yeah.
I know
we met Bill.
Was he? Because he's like a legend in my mind. Of course, he's passed many, many years ago, back in the 80s. And it was fascinating to me to find out that you guys, had a connection with him, and he actually sort of came to bat for you. I thought that was really neat. But he started out with the, I can't think of the group, but
Bluegrass Boys.
Flat and Scruggs.
Oh yeah, Flat and Scruggs. Yeah, they did. Right, absolutely.
And I can't think of the name of something that. Bluegrass Boys is what it was.
Yeah.
And
from the Bluegrass Boys. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I'll tell you what great history there, and to be able to, I mean, you guys are legends in your own right. I mean, you've got all kinds of awards. You've got a Grammy, 3 Country Music Association awards of the Academy of Country Music. You guys are the real deal. and to be able
Thank
to make that connection between another legend of bluegrass and country music. It's just amazing to me. I love that. I think it's really fascinating. And,
Well,
it must have been a thrill.
it was amazing. The first time I met Bill Monroe, Doug and I were out with Ronnie McDowell. We were playing this little country show. I think it was in Virginia, somewhere in Virginia, North Carolina, somewhere. And Bill was on with we were sharing the bill with Bill Monroe that day, and we were with Ryan McDowell, but we had the Headhunters going. We were still just the Headhunters, and we were doing a radio show in Mumfordville, Kentucky called the Chitlin Show. We started doing that show twice a month. We'd go over this radio station, and we would set up, we'd mic everything, and we would play live over the radio twice a month. And it was a blast. It was fun. So we see Bill Monroe and we go, man, if we could just get him to do a promo for our show. So me and Doug walked up to him and said, Bill, we're with Ronnie McDowell, but we got a band called the Headhunters, and we do a radio show back in Mumfordville, Kentucky. Would you do a promo for us? So, hi, I'm Bill Monroe. You're listening to the Headhunters on WLOC, on the Chitlin Show on WLOC. So he steps back and he looks at the tape recorder. He looks at us, and our hair was getting a little bit longer because this wasn't too long before we left Ronnie McDowell, and things were getting ready to happen. And finally, he motioned to Doug to turn the tape recorder on. He said, hi, this is Bill Monroe from the Grand Ole Opry. You're listening to the Headhunters on the Chitlin Show. Let's all get together and pull for them. And so that was our first meeting, but he had no clue who we were, and he had no clue what was going to happen in about a year or two. You know what I'm saying? So about, when Walk Softly came out as a single, we waited real patiently to see what kind of reaction we were going to get from Bill. And finally, he come back and had a real positive reaction to it. And when we had our gold record party, he showed up. He showed up every chance he could. And then when we were doing Electric Barnyard in 1992, he showed up at the studio, and he came in and listened because we did another one of his songs called Body and Soul. And he listened to it. He said, now, boys, don't get that music too stout where it covers up the vocals, And then later on that year, we played Bean Blossom Festival, and he invited us up to the Bean Blossom Festival, and we were playing. He walked on stage, got up there with us, and you go on YouTube, and if you put Kentucky Headhunters, Bill Monroe, there's a really fuzzy video of him walking on stage with us, and we're doing Walk Softly. So he was a great man. He was very stoic. He didn't show a whole lot of expression. I don't know if he was always like that or not, but he took a liking to us, and we love Bill. And I did go to his funeral in Rosine, Kentucky when he passed away.
Oh, it was so great that you guys did cover his songs, because it probably helped him out financially in his older age, because he wasn't, bringing in the money that he used to. And I'm sure by you more or less threw him a lifeline by doing that. And I'm sure that he probably realized that. But yeah, he was a real classy, and he personified the image of the cowboy. And he would dress to a T. You'd never see him on stage or television or anything without his big cowboy hat and the Western dress. He was phenomenal the way he carried himself.
And that's one of the cool things about country music and bluegrass music back in the days, because most of these guys came out of very, they weren't, a lot of them were poor, but they dressed up for the occasion, man. They dressed up to the kilt, and It was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah, Bill had that cool Stetson hat he wore, and he was just an amazing, great guy. And we also done Blue Moon of Kentucky on the third album, Rave On. And what I heard that he wasn't saying much about Elvis's version at first, and somebody asked him about it. And he said, "Yeah, those are some pretty stout royalty checks." Something like that. He was a real guy, man. His music is amazing because he was mixing blues with Appalachian music, and he came up with that style of bluegrass music. It's got a whole lot of blues in it, man. A lot of good stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
And,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, me and my wife and my son went to see Dale McCurry at an inn store in Louisville one day. And Bill, Dale had played with Bill. And I'm sure Dale knew the story about our association with Bill. And I walked up to Dale, and Dale started laughing. He said, Bill Monroe. Oh, man, so cool.
Yeah, I was wondering what your main inspiration was, if there was a group or any one singer that inspired the group as a whole of the music that you guys played, because I really loved your whole spectrum. I mean, you put out 8 studio albums, 3 compilations, there were 23 singles. It's amazing your span of work that you put out, and everything was just as good as the one before it, I believe, and it's always been my favorite. But that's what I was wondering. Who did you have an inspiration for the group, or did you just sort of form it in your own way? Which I'm sure you did, but
well, we did. We did. I could say early on, there was a band that has roots out of Kentucky, at least 2 of the members. There was a group called NRBQ. I'm not sure if you've heard those guys, but they, Terry Adams and Steve Ferguson, moved to Florida in 1967, and they formed the first version of NRBQ. Then they moved back to New York, and they actually signed with Columbia Records and released their first album in 68 or 69. And one of the first albums, when I even got with Richard and Fred back in 68, I brought a copy of NRBQ and said, "Man, you got to check these guys out." But when we put the Headhunters together, we were listening to a lot of NRBQ. We were listening to some fabulous Thunderbirds. We were listening to a lot of blues, Sonny Boy Williamson. We were listening to James Cotton. We were listening to B.B. King, Freddie King, Albert Collins, Albert King. We were listening to some rockabilly. We were just listening to a whole lot of stuff, and it just made this crazy musical burgoo, so to speak, Yeah.
And it worked.
It did work.
Yeah, by the grace of God, it worked, and I'm very thankful. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Greg, can you tell us a little bit about working with Jimmy Hall and Wet Willie? Because it says that he was on one of the songs or did some lead vocals.
Oh, Jimmy Hall. Yeah, we go back to. I've been a fan of Jimmy Hall. Probably always. I heard there was an album that was released in '73 called Drippin' Wet, which was a live album. The original Wet Willie band did. They recorded at the warehouse in New Orleans. And a friend of mine turned me on to that album. And the thing that really blew me away was Jimmy Hall's voice. And I thought, man, who is this guy right here? And of course, he was blowing harmonica, playing saxophone. And then the guitar player, Ricky Hirsch, was amazing. And I've become a fan of Wet Willie and bought all their albums through the 70s and followed them until they broke up around 1980, 81. And I never knew Jimmy in the 80s. I knew about Jimmy. Jimmy moved to Nashville, and he had a group called the Prisoners of Love. And I knew that they were really well thought of in Nashville. didn't really get to know Jimmy until we were doing an album with Johnny Johnson around early 93. And I suggested to the guys that we contact Jimmy to come down and sing some harmony and play some sax, play some harmonica. And so he showed up and did the album That'll Work With Us. You know, he as a sideman pretty much. And then he's also done some other stuff with us later. He was on the Soul album playing sax and harmonic. Yeah, he's on harmonic on that as well. Then Jimmy Hall and myself also did a gospel album called The Mighty Jeremiahs, which I believe was released around 2005 on Ear Ecstasy Records. But that label is defunct now, and that is a very hard CD to find right at the moment. I'm trying to get that back into distribution again. But there again, it was through the Johnny Johnson Association. We were doing the album, and we brought Jimmy in, and Jimmy went on the road with us a little bit. He's just a very close friend of ours. To this day, we still get together and play every now and then.
So you're still writing songs at this point, Greg, all the time?
Oh,
with the new album
yeah,
as well?
Yeah. The new album, it's pretty much all original except for Cheap Tequila. Cheap Tequila is a song written by Rick Derringer that was on All American Boy back in 1973. Johnny Winter also recorded it on Still Alive and Well. And Fred had been wanting to do that song forever. He asked me to sing it first, and I just didn't feel it. And I said, you want to do it? You sing it. And he did. So we come up with a different groove on it, a different way to do it. The only other song that might be a cover would be, which one? How Could I? That was written by Blackstone Cherry and Richard. That was kind of an outside song that Blackstone Cherry never did. We just reworked it up. And man, the rest of the songs are all original. Yeah, we all write in different capacities, different ways.
Your music is fantastic. I just a couple of questions real quick, and then Mike, I'll let you ask another one. They want to know if you are a big Skynyrd fan and also a Southern rock. Of course, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
Outlaws, Skynyrd,
Oh yeah, the whole genre. Well, we first heard Leonard Skinner, like the end of 73, early 74 with Pronounced, that first album.
Great album.
And it was an influence. And the bigger influences on us, oddly enough, were the English bands like Led Zeppelin and groups like Montrose, Free, Bad Company, Johnny Winter. But being from where we were from, we're not that far. We're pretty much a Southern band. We couldn't help but sound like that, but yeah, Skinner was a big influence. The Allman Brothers, a group out of Atlanta called Hydra, was a big influence. They were on Capricorn Records. Of course, Wet Willie, the Atlanta Rhythm Section. There's some unknown group like Beaver Teeth. There was a group out of Atlanta called Beaver Teeth that we really liked a lot. There was a lot of bands like that from the South. And, we never did we ever play Skynyrd? No, we never really played Leonard Skynyrd songs, but I did go out and sub for Ed King in 1992. He broke his finger, and I went out and subbed for him. He was still there playing slide, but I played some of his parts. So that was, that was kind of cool doing that with those
cool.
guys. Yeah. Oh, of course, Marshall Tucker. We love Marshall Tucker as well. Many great Southern bands. Some people say ZZ Top's a Southern rock band, but I look at them more as a kind of a mishmash blues and stuff,
Right. Yeah. Go ahead, Mike. Any other questions for Greg?
Yeah. Your group has really never stopped touring since the beginning. How are you guys ever able to keep up with that? I don't know how your schedule is now. I know you got something coming up in Illinois. But I mean, how is that tour schedule for you all those years? It had to take its toll on you guys.
Oh man, just look at me.
What's your wife say, Greg?
I look like a demented elf, don't I? I mean, this silly hat. Um, I've been on a Doug and I have been on a tour bus since 1981. So we're talking about 41 years been on a tour bus.
Oh, wow.
Small break during 2020 because of the pandemic. We did 10 shows that year, but let's say 40 years on a tour bus. Before that, I was running around in a van, cars, And how is it, man? You just get in the groove of traveling, and you just do it. Like tonight, we're getting on the bus at 11:30 Central Time, and we're heading to Illinois. We're heading to Jacksonville, Illinois, to play a show. Then we play Effingham on Saturday with a Confederate Railroad. I just know in my mind, subliminally, I know when I have to leave. So I have to get my clothes together, get my guitars together, a few CDs to listen to in the bunk. And the music keeps my brain from just overloading pretty much, if you want to know the truth.
How about your children, Greg? Are your children in music like you? Usually they.
I've got two step kids. They're very talented. Both of them are drummers, and both of them have had recording contracts. They have toured. When I was out touring with Skinner, my stepson's band was actually opening for Skinner. So,
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
So, yeah, my two stepkids are very talented. Now, my stepson John is really a great drummer, and he's a great guitar player, a great writer, sings. My stepdaughter Sherry, she was in a group called Velvet Elvis. They had a recording contract. She just got back from, I don't know where she was at, in Belgium or somewhere, and running around. She's played a lot. Johnny had a group called Black Cat Bone. They had a recording contract. He still has a group called Tail Dragger. We still play together a little bit when we can. My son, Eric, he doesn't play music. Matter of fact, if he was here, he would tell you that he thinks guitars are annoying. And but he loves radio. He loves radio, and he listens. He has certain radio shows he listens to every week. There's about 6 shows he listens to. And he's autistic, but he's highly functioning and autistic. But he loves music. He just don't play it.
Wow, that's awesome.
Mike, we're almost done with Greg. Greg, we have you a little bit longer. I have another question for you, and then we're going to ask you to do something for us. Did you ever cross paths with Stevie Ray Vaughan?
Never did.
No.
We were going to. Our sound man, Steve Wilson's been with us. When did Stevie Ray pass away? 1990? Yeah, I believe, end of 90. Steve was his amp tech. And I've known Steve forever. And Steve was on the road with Stevie Ray, working on his amps. And the night before Stevie Ray passed, he signed me an album flat of In Step. From one guitar player to another, congratulations on your success, Stevie Ray Vaughan. I wished I had it to show you, but it's at a friend's house right now. I got to get it back. And we were going to actually meet Stevie sometime that next year, either that year or later or next year. It just didn't come to be, man. Met Jimmy, know Jimmy a little bit. Just never got to meet Stevie. I feel like I know Stevie through his music, though.
Yeah, I think really everybody does that. I think everybody does.
Hendrix too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Stevie Ray. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan just as much. What I know about him as a person, I love him just as bad. He seemed like he was just a great, caring person, man. And he got straight, at the end, and he was playing so great, man. Playing better than he ever played.
Absolutely. I totally agree. One little thing, I want to ask the thing, and then I'll let Mike ask another question. I think we're going to end it for tonight. If you can do a sweeper for the show and the station, I would just say who you are. You're from Kentucky Headhunters, and say you're listening to the Docg and Mike Dupree show on Hamilton Radio. That's fine.
It's Mike Dupree.
Mike Dupree. He's from Halloween Kills, by the way. Right, Mike?
Okay.
Soon to be in the Gilbert Diaries as well. Soon too.
Let me.
He and I.
Is it Dr. G and Mike Dupree?
Docg, that's fine. Docg.
Docg and Mike Dupree.
Right. Yeah, it's no rhyme there going on.
What's the show called again?
It's the Docg and Mike Dupree show.
Okay, Docg and Mike Dupree.
On you're listening on Hamilton Radio.
Okay, I can do something. I do a radio show too. Did John?
Oh, I didn't know. Tell me more about it. Go ahead, talk about it.
Let me tell you about
Well,
my radio. I've been doing radio about 22 and a half years myself.
Oh, that's wonderful. God bless you.
I mean, I'll try to keep it a little short if I can. I grew up in the 60s listening to AM radio. There was two great stations out of Louisville, WKLO, WAKY, great rock stations, and it was a great country station, WTMT, and a great soul station, WLOU. And as a kid, I was just infatuated with listening to those DJs. And I even used to go to the WKLO showcase window and watch the DJs work. They have a Drake board, they had the two turntables, cart machines, and all these great records. And then when I moved to Metcalfe County, all I had at night was radio to listen to and a few records. And I used to listen to WLS out of Chicago, WCFL, WOWO out of Fort Wayne, and WLOC out of Nashville. And every now and then from the East Coast, New York would drift in on skip, at night. So I was always infatuated with it, but the guitar won out early on. But in 1986, I started doing a little blues show at WLOC in Mumfordville called Blue Monday. And the Headhunters were doing the Chitlin show as well. But those were kind of short-lived because of what was to come with the recording and picking on Nashville. So I put my radio career on the shelf pretty much, and I love radio. But in 1997, I was offered a slot at a station in Campbellsville, Kentucky, WVLC. They wanted me to do a Southern rock show. I begged them to let me do a blues roots show, which would encompass Southern rock, soul music, blues rock, Southern rock, anything that had deep roots. And from November of 1997 to April of 2001, I was at from 1997 to 2000, I was at WVLC. Then the engineer quit because I wasn't running the board at the time. I learned that later. But then I took a break from radio, and then I was offered a slot at WDNS in Bowling Green, Kentucky, classic rock station. And I started there in November of 2001. I've been there 20 years, every Monday night from 7 to 10, Central Standard Time. The name of the show is The Lowdown Hoedown. And it streams live at WDNSFM.com.
Beautiful. Yeah, check it out.
It's a fun show. I've been doing it 20 years, 3 hours every Monday night. If I'm not there, there's a tape show. Eventually, I'd like to do it live out of the basement and fire it right down to the station. I know there's ways to do it. You guys know that stuff better than I do.
We specialize in that. That's what we do.
Yeah, I love radio, man. I figure someday as things get, we get older and we can't tour as much, I'd like to really get that show out there a little bit more, syndicated. I don't know if they do syndication anymore or not. I really don't know.
I mean, I run a lot of syndicated shows. I used to do a syndicated show. It's still there. It's the stations that
and satellite.
Right. It's the stations. Yeah. It's also the stations that don't, I hate to say it this way, but some of the stations, their management or something, they don't understand it. They don't get the emails. There's a lot of, cross things there, and they get egos. Everybody has an ego. I don't have an ego. I'm happy to do whatever I can for anybody. If you reach out to me, Greg, and you say, hey, listen, Docg, can you play my show here? It's done. It's literally done. All you got to do is send it to me. That's it.
Well, if I ever start producing a show like that, I'll be in touch with you. I can tell you, I can tell you're a good guy. Both of you are. That's refreshing. I mean, everybody I've talked to, on these interviews has been great, but I could tell that you're not like a normal radio person, that owns it. You own a station, right?
Yeah, I own the station 25 years.
That's amazing.
Going into 26 June. Yeah. It's crazy.
That's so cool. What's your format? What's the format?
My format. Hey, my format. Oh my God. My format. I guess, I call it a surprise format, but it's actually, that's what it is, because it's built on oldies. When I say oldies, it could be anything. Classic rock, which is the second part, and jazz, blues, all that stuff is in there. It's got basically, here's the thing, as a musician, a fellow musician like you, Greg, I look at music like, wait a minute, I like this over here, I like this over here. I like the Beatles, I like Elvis, but I also like Genesis, I like Led Zeppelin, I like Frank Sinatra. So it all combines together in one neatly packaged. I like Motown, I like soul, I like rock, I like classic rock, I got bluegrass. I mean, I like a little bit of everything. And that's why the stations existed, because
it's like
variety.
freeform radio was back in the day.
Right.
You
Like
know.
student radio at colleges. I've been known because I have a couple of friends that are in a band called Nectar. Now people are like, who the hell is
Oh,
Nectar?
Nectar. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Remember
So
the Future.
I play a song. I forget what it's called. My brain is kind of slipping, but it's like a 20-minute song. And I said, why would you play that song? I said, because nobody else does.
I totally get
play
it.
when nobody else
I love
does.
Nectar. I love Nectar.
Yeah,
remember remember the Futures, the
Future,
album.
that's it. Remember the Future.
I
That's it.
love that. I love that. I've got. I know you guys have done it too. You got CDs. Maybe I could show you a few without tearing things up here. Can you see what you can you see my wall?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
You can see what's going on here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Woo! I'd love to
That'll
live
be
there.
the studio. Yeah, it goes all the way back. The blues is behind the curtain there. Then
Oh,
there's
wow.
box sets over there.
Right.
So
So cool.
I'm a music freak, man. I'm a student of, even though my show is a blues show, we take liberties with it. And this past week I played Eddie Taylor, Jimmy Reed, Albert King. I played music by Albert Collins. Next week I'm doing what we call barbecue blues, a bunch of soul music, barbecue blues songs, So just have fun with it.
That's what I do. I have themes. I have shows. I run different shows. I run different shows on different days. And we've had the same format for over 25 years. That's the hard thing. Our listeners, our average listeners are anywhere from 9 to 90, and they listen from 6 to 8 hours a day. Now with the phones, I don't even know how many listeners they're listening all day long.
So is it AM, FM, or
no? It's internet. It's internet.
It's completely internet.
Yeah, because when nobody was doing internet, I got into it. I said, you know what? This is a great place for me to teach my daughters all the music that I want them to know, plus to teach everybody out there. I do tributes. I do special shows for people that have different problems. Yeah. Nobody else. See, Greg, nobody else does this stuff. That's why I'm successful at it.
Do you run like it's like an internet channel? Do you have like several different shows on under your umbrella, so to speak?
Pretty much. We had our own studio. We're actually getting a new studio soon, but we had like 30 radio shows, and they're actually other personalities went out to other stations, and some stayed with us, some haven't. That's fine. Career differences, whatever.
Man, I think I've seen you before. I think about 2 years ago. I may be wrong about this.
Okay.
I think I've seen you doing some kind of. You were talking about your station. You don't have a rubber duck or something, do you?
No.
That's not you. Okay.
I know the rubber duck. I know the rubber duck. Rick Dees.
Man, you're very familiar. What's the name of your channel exactly?
Well, the radio station's name is HamiltonRadio.net. It was called way back. It was called Feel Good Music, because I thought that was a great name for the station. Then I called it Sunny Radio, and then I called it Hamilton Radio.
Oh wow, man! Wow, that is so cool.
Greg,
Well,
I'll tell you how
Mike,
I was.
Mike wants to say something.
Yeah, how I was originally sold on the station. I appeared in Halloween Kills with Jamie Lee Curtis, John Carpenter thing, and I was interviewed on Hamilton Radio. Before that, I had never heard of it. Then a buddy of mine who was in the military that's in Australia sent me an email, said, "You're not going to believe this. I just heard an interview with you on Hamilton Radio," and he was listening out in Australia. So that shows you how far reaching Hamilton Radio was. And then I started listening myself. I listen all the time. I'll tune it in when I'm driving someplace. I'll put it on my phone and let it play around.
Guys, I know about you guys. I know about this station because back during the pandemic, I was checking out different things. Now, Doc, was there like a video of you talking about the network or about the station or something
Yes.
out there?
Mhm. I've been doing
I
that for
know
years.
it's-
I've been playing a lot of independent artists because a lot of indie artists, and Greg, and you know this, your local friends, your local artists, they don't have that chance to get out there. They don't have that music exposure to get out there. Once you build the exposure for everybody else, now you can bring them in. That's why the whole design of the station was.
No, I mean, I've seen you before. I swear back in 2020,
Thank you.
there came a time when I thought, oh God, the music thing may be over. And I kept doing my radio show. They were having a rough time there for a bit. I make a little money. What little I make goes back into my library, and I've slowly building the studio up a bit. But I was thinking, like, what am I going to do if we can't tour anymore? But I'm getting at the age where, like, I didn't have to worry about as much, because I've been doing it forever, and I was getting older. But I started looking around. I know that I saw you talking. It wasn't like I'm thinking you have several channels on your
Well, we
several
did. We
people.
had we had like 3 channels at one time. We're going to be getting another 3rd channel again because we had the live channel, the channel that I have, channel 1, and then we have another channel, which was the studio channel, which was everything at the studio was played, and then we had the VIP channel. But now I've got another station in Australia called Oz Country Music Radio. The owner
So,
passed away, and then I bought it from him.
but you had like several shows under the umbrella, people doing
Mhm.
shows.
Yep.
Exactly, right?
Correct. Yep.
Because I know you were talking about how people would load the shows in, and if I'm not mistaken, you're talking about how important it was to be prompt on getting the shows loaded. Does that sound right
Yeah,
to me?
that's what I always say. Yeah, you got to be prompt. I don't mind doing the shows. Just make sure I get them on time.
I've seen you before. This is so amazing.
I mean,
I
isn't it
remember
great?
back in back in 2020, man. I remember that because I was starting to go, what am I going to do? And we started trying to build a little studio down here. We're not done with it. Obviously, you don't. I'd like to be. I mean, I love the live feel of what I do at WDNS on Monday night, where I load the CDs in. I know that most of everybody else, like, what are you doing that, man? Just use it do MP3s, and but I just enjoy the live feel because I grew up watching DJs in a window, that's just what I feel, and yeah, I've seen you before, man. This is crazy.
Greg,
So Mike,
I
pleasure
can't-
meeting you too.
No, I mean, no, it's, oh God. I mean, I got a birthday coming up in June, and this is like going to make my day. Because I guess a couple weeks ago at the studio, we had the Drifters in there from the 60s. And we actually went with another co-host, Jerry Petito, who didn't want to do a show. And I got her talked into it about 5 years ago or longer. And
This
she
is
said,
freaking amazing.
come and with me on your studio, and let's talk to the Drifters. So we sang Under the Boardwalk with them, and how cool is that? Come on, that's like it would never happen, right?
That's wonderful. I know there's a video, and you were talking about how this station worked, and you were really hammering about people. If you're going to do a show, you got to be sure it was an upload process of some kind, right? I guess.
Yeah,
It said,
I think you're right. I think you're
upload
right.
your show on time. I don't know where I was watching this at, but I was like going,
YouTube.
It was
Or
YouTube.
somebody's page, because here's the thing, Greg. I mean, as a songwriter, and you would appreciate this, I did write a song with my friend Ambry Pacerno from Nashville, and the song was actually on one of these things. Now, this is actually a broke. I know you can't see this, but this is actually a broke thing.
The phone popped back up. There's a phone looking. I can't see you now for some reason.
Okay, that's because I'm hiding it. But anyway, this song here is a song I wrote called Bonfire, and it's about the burning desire that everybody has to work with each other to create that bonfire within each other. And that song had 5 different country artists on it that are all my friends, and at the same time was up for a Grammy nomination. I still don't even believe that. But anyway, I digress. I'm not a great songwriter. I'm just a person that believes in, certain things.
No, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Well, man, it's a pleasure meeting you because I've seen you before. Now I put it all together. I just couldn't, this goes back to 2020 when things were so crazy. I was
Yeah.
just kind of searching around. I think I did a search about independent radio or something like that. I was trying to, or syndication. I was
Right.
also, now, do you mess around with terrestrial radio whatsoever at all?
I used to. Years ago, I was a DJ on terrestrial radio, and what happened with that was the owners of the station, the programming managers, told me, don't play that music for the people at 2 o'clock in the morning because you're not supposed to play what they want to hear. You're supposed to play what the programming manager wants you to play. So I said, no, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. So I'm done. And then that's when I formed my own station. I said, I'll do a lot better the way I want to do it because it's more of a people station when I play requests for people. When
And you
some of these
serve this-
artists, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you had this new studio as well. Best I remember. I mean, about 2 years ago, weren't y'all opening a new studio?
Well, we opened a new studio, but we also had a studio before that. We had a studio before that.
Oh, man.
And we're going to be getting another studio very soon. We're moving to another location. It'll be a
Darn,
little
that is just so cool. I'll check you out again, man. I just got
If you're in
busy.
the area, please stop in. Right, Mike? Come down to New Jersey.
Absolutely. Yeah,
love
Oh,
to
I'd
have
love
you.
to. I'd love to.
If you like old studios, I have a recreation of a 1940s and 50s television studio in my house with the original broadcast cameras and all the RCA 77 and 44 microphones and on-air lights.
Mike, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
It's one of my
amazing.
hobbies, or sicknesses, I should say.
An addiction.
I get it, man. Well, I mean, that's great. Well, I will check you guys. Y'all got my number. Y'all like that, y'all? Yeah, you got I'll give you my number. Y'all hang on to it. It's y'all want to write it down.
Don't say it over here. Don't say it over here.
Oh, don't say it.
Yeah.
Oh, we're still being interviewed. Oh my
Yeah.
Lord. Okay.
I
Sorry about
wanted
that.
you to say that one sweeper for me or the liner, and then we can.
You want a liner? Are you ready for a liner?
I know
here?
he's got a show tonight. He's got to go to. What time's your show tonight? And
Well,
Greg,
we
tell
don't
a
play
little bit
tonight.
about your show. Where people,
I just got to get on the bus and travel. Just got to get on the bus and travel. All right. You're listening to, let me make sure I get this right, folks. You're listening. Okay. Brothers and sisters out there in radio land on the internet, you listen to Docg and Mike Dupree show on Hamilton Radio.
Perfect.
Or would you?
Thank you. Perfect.
I'll be glad. If you want to send me a script.
No, that's perfect, Greg. That's perfect. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And like I said, I could probably talk to you all night long, just like with Mike,
I would love to, man. I'm sorry at the end. I just got thinking about it. I'm going, it was one of those moments I'm going, I know about this. When I saw your background, I started having
the logo.
deja vu. Yeah. Man, that dad blasted pandemic was strange times, man.
That sure was.
We also were trying to have a Roku channel too, and I'm working on getting another one back very soon so I can get these independents on the Roku channel. Because again, what I try to do, Greg, is when people say on YouTube they can't watch it, they can watch it on my Roku channel.
That's amazing.
When Facebook says you can't watch it, you can watch it on my Roku channel. Why? Because it's there. And you pick and choose whatever you want to watch. I had concerts from Pink Floyd on there. I had some oldies concerts on there. I had some major concerts on there. And 2-3 hours concerts, whatever it was, people enjoyed it. And they didn't get blocked out. They didn't have to worry about this. And they didn't have to worry about that. Watch on their phones.
How many radio shows are you running on do you figure different people doing stuff?
Well, right now, I'm doing this show with Mike Dupree. I'm also doing a show with John Phelan. I'm also doing a show with Jimmy Deal. And that's who we interviewed Richard on. I'm also going to be doing another show with my buddy Jimmy Aschenbrenner, which is from The Outsiders. He wants to do a show with me.
Oh, The Outsiders. Come out from Cleveland?
Yeah. And Jimmy is one of the, not the original, but one of the replacements for one of the guys that passed. But one of the originals is in there, Rick. And we're going to be interviewing a lot of great musicians on there, like John Lodge from the Moody Blues. And Jimmy's lining them up right now because he's just coming back from a cruise with all them. So
That's great. That's
things
great.
are getting really, really good, man. I'm really happy.
That's fun, man. Well, I'll tell you what, it's great meeting you. You know, well, I'd
You're
love to
here.
talk longer myself, but you know what I got to do? I've got to pack some clothes, and I got to pack 3 guitars, and I'm gonna pack me some Roy Buchanan and some what else am I going to?
There you go. Now you're talking.
Yeah, maybe some Danny Gatton. I've been thinking I'm into Telecaster mode right now. So, guys, we'll stay in touch. We'll be in touch. There's ways to do this, you know.
Yeah, my email, just so you know, is admin, ADMIN, admin at hamiltonradio.net. Anybody else
Admin?
out there? Yep, ADMIN, admin
Okay.
at hamiltonradio.net. And we've interviewed some great people. I mean, we interviewed your friend. We've interviewed Engelbert Humperdinck. We've interviewed Stone Cold Steve Austin. Amazing
You
people.
know, you've done some great things, man. I remember watching you talk about the station. I can't remember when it was. I know when it was. I'm just trying to. I'll go back on YouTube. I'll find that video. I know I'm having deja vu big time right now. Well, listen, guys, I hate to do this, but I better.
No, you're fine, Greg. It's fine.
Yeah, we've had a good time here today.
You've been an hour and a half. Go ahead, Mike. Anything last? Mike?
It's been a thrill, Greg. I'll tell you what, it's great. I'm watching you on Zoom. Of course, you can't see me, but it's been a thrill to spend some time with you and be able to ask you some questions that I had in the back of my head. And I'll tell you what, you are a legend, and thanks so much for joining us for this.
Thank you so much, Mike. And you having the original Picking on Nashville, the Headhunters, which that's amazing. You're the first guy I've run across doing an interview that has that. That you bought it in New York City, right?
Yeah. It was in a secondhand music shop, and I can't recall the name, but that's where it arrived at. So wherever it came from originally, that's where it wound up at.
That is
And now
so
it's your
cool, man. When you said pink, I'm going, oh my Lord, what's the chance of this happening? Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Well, you gentlemen have a wonderful evening. I'd love to talk to you guys another hour or two about music. We can talk about anything from blues to my specialty is 64 to early 70s. That's what is ingrained in my head, you know, because I listen to radio and blues, of course. I love blues and R&B, just anything. I'm just ate up with it, man. That's what we say down. I'm ate up with it.
No, you've been a pleasure, Greg. I just want to give you a quick shout out to a couple people here. Terry King from the Drifters is watching and listening. I want to give him a shout out. Terry's an awesome guy. Connie Munson, she's a friend and also a singer-songwriter. Ken Ryan, another great guy, singer-songwriter. Linda Ekman. These are all friends. Bob Stetson. And just my friend Jimmy Deal's watching, Doug Shamo and Chuck Walton, all these friends and people listening to you and hearing you and watching you. And one last comment for them all.
Man, the curtain's opening back up. It's time to get out there and make some music and make some people happy. And what we were called to do in life is to make people happy. And be happy in the process. So it's just time to come on. Time's short. We got to get out there and do it. And thank God for music.
God bless you, and have a safe trip, Greg, and enjoy your gig tonight.
Yeah, thank you. God bless you, man. You guys take care.
God bless you. Stay in touch.
Safe travels.
I'll be in touch with you guys. Y'all take care.
Thank you, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Okay, Mike. What a great show.
That was a thrill, I'll tell you.
He is a fascinating guy, and the more that we got into the radio, oh my God! Don't let me get involved in radio because
what the chances are that he caught this station and saw you? That is so amazing. Well, that shows you the reach.
Well, I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that from years ago. Friends of mine, like Ivory Tower Project, my friend Mark, and he passed away, by the way. But He used to tell me, he said, you don't realize your reach. I said, I do realize my reach. He said, no, you don't understand. There's people in Brazil that are playing you constantly. And then I got an email from somebody in Brazil and they said they listen to me daily. And I'm like, wow, that's really great. I didn't know that. And he said, yeah, I'm telling you, I get emails all the time that people hear my music that I'm playing from his band, Ivory Tower Project, on your station. And the reason why he promoted our station is because we played him more than any other stations or friends that he had that would play him. And I'm like, okay,
Right.
I understand that. That makes sense to me. I mean, it was a good
Yeah.
guy. He wanted his music played. We played it. People requested it. We played it.
Yeah.
You know?
Look at it this way. Satellite radio, everybody thought is the future. But
Right.
you look at it this way. You have to have a satellite receiver clicked onto a certain satellite in order to listen. Now,
Correct.
with your station and stations, all you have to do is have a smartphone or a computer and you're in. You can listen. And that's why you're going to have more exposure over the years than any satellite will ever do. And this is the way of the future. Any place that has Wi-Fi or internet, you're golden. And that's why I said my buddy from Australia, when he got a hold of me, Mike Hodges, it's amazing that he was listening in Australia and heard us. That right there is a great testimonial.
And you know what's funny about
And,
that is every time you try to increase your listeners the way a business is supposed to be, they
Right.
block you and say you can't do it. So I always find workarounds. Okay, then this is
Yeah.
not going to work for me because I need a workaround. I need something like the Tune Genie that I always use because it's a playlist that shows you what songs are played, and it's also a player for people that can't hear it in other areas that that won't be able to get it. But they
Right.
still can get it through the Tune Genie as long as they have a Wi-Fi connection, just like you said, and that's so important. We're also going to get a new app coming out too. But what an incredible show! Thank you so much for being here, Mike. I don't know what the problem is with Zoom. It happens every now
have a
and
call
then.
in for. I have a ticket because it's weird. It's my phone and the computer, and I have a ticket in, and they were supposed to get back to me today, but they didn't. But I'll tell you what, Greg Martin. It's funny that out of all the people I get to help interview him, like I said, the history of the Kentucky Headhunters. It was the Headhunters, and then of course they changed it to Kentucky. But the Itchy Brothers, and it's that connection with Bill Monroe that brings it back to the Grand Ole Opry. And even though they did have a chance later on to actually play there, Bill was actually instrumental in fighting for them to be able to be accepted. But they made it in spite of a couple people that were trying to block them. And I understand why. It was a different time. You know, the old cowboy singers, they were intimidated by long hair and things they didn't understand. And it's not the hippie movement, but they probably thought of it as that and tried to block them out of it. And it's a shame because their music was so great. Every song they did, especially the covers that they did of Bill Monroe's, were outstanding. Walk Softly on This Heart of Mine is one of my favorite. And Oh Lonesome Me, and of course the underrated is Singing the Blues. And if you ever get a chance, listen to that. They still have videos that are being played. I think it's YouTube. You can go on and catch them. I haven't seen them for a while. I know I think it was Oh Lonesome Me. Starts out with a bunch of pigs and they're on stage and these pigs are making all these noises and then they find out, well, this gig isn't until tomorrow, so they up and leave. And but it's really cool to watch. I haven't seen it for years, but I still listen to their music. And like I said, I have that cassette tape that I picked up in New York City years back, which was a coincidence. And I saw it and I said, you know what, I've never seen this before. And it's got songs on here that I've never heard of. Well, a couple, they were, older songs that other artists did. So I picked it up because it was only, and I didn't want to tell him that, but it was only like $3 at the time. And I picked it up and I played it because I still had a cassette player back then in the 90s. And who would have known that now it's a collector's item, I'm sure, because there's not a whole lot of them around.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It-
And I do want to say one thing too before we go, Mike, that the other night I did a show. It was Tuesday night, and it was called Whistleblower's Pie, and it was about child sex trafficking and what people had to deal with. And then my friend Pepe Castro from the Blues Magoos and the band Balance, and just all these great bands from the 60s and 70s, wrote songs for people, reached out to me and said, you know what, brother, what you're doing is amazing. Here's a song I did called Free the Children. And he said, if you need to use this song for this organization or whatever you're doing, please do. It's just sitting there on YouTube. Nobody's watching it, using it. So I wanted to tell my friends out there that Hamilton Radio is not only a music station. It's more than that. It's whatever you can imagine you want it to be in a public radio station, but at the same time, understand we're here for people. We're here to help people. We're here for the homeless, everybody, any charity you can think of that I've been associated with or worked with. We've helped homeless people. We've helped a guy that, and then this is the part of the Hamilton Radio people don't see, right? They don't see that, that we brought a guy out from being homeless to create his own career again because he had a great voice. He became a voiceover guy. He became a singer. And I mean, these are the stories that are the behind the scenes. Someday, maybe I'll write a book. I don't know. But the thing is, you don't hear about these things. And that's the part that Hamilton Radio, I'm really proud of that part. The tributes is one thing that, when people have a illness or something like that, and then I spend all day creating a playlist just for them. There's no other radio station that is on this planet that would do that. Why? Because I'm a giving person, I'm a loving person, I'm a caring person, and I don't mind doing it. And the thing is, like I always said, I have to have a playlist anyway. So why do I not want to make it for this person so I can make them smile, make them have a great day, make them enjoy their time here, however short or long it is, and at the same time create that feeling of being loved by everybody. Because now when you share your song, you're not sharing it just to one station, you're sharing it all over the world. So literally I had that same idea years ago, and it's now blossomed into this.
Right. No, that's great that you're in a position where you can do that, especially to bring the awareness of the sex trafficking trade to the forefront. People know, and sex trafficking at all is disgusting. And the child sex is just repulsive. And anybody that has children, if you could imagine what's happening to these kids, and I'm not political at all. I hate politics and I hate taking sides or anything.
Me too.
That's the reason why we have the border laws that we have, and we have to stop this nonsense of fentanyl coming over the border, and of course the sex trade that's coming across the border. It has to be stopped, and that's why we have to tighten up our borders. And like I said, I'm not going after any one political party. They all have to work together to stop this nonsense down there, because it's just gotten out of control, and they're enabling the sex trafficking, and that's a sad thing. And also with the drugs that are coming across, so many young Americans are dying at the hands, and a lot of it's coming out of China, and it's being brought in through Mexico, and that's just the sad reality, and it's a shame. And both sides of the political party have to get together and work as a team for a change. Work for the American people. Don't work against them, because the way I feel, most politicians are self-serving. They're only in there for what they can get, and that's a shame. And we need, younger people to step up to the plate. And your awareness, bringing it out on Hamilton Radio, is outstanding. It's definitely a great public interest issue that people have to know about, because a lot of people don't realize. They think, oh yeah, there's immigrants coming over the border, big deal. Yeah, it's not really that. It's everything else combined that adds up, and that's why it has to be taken care of. But no, that's great that you brought that issue up and you're bringing it to the forefront and making everybody aware of it.
And we're sending the shows on a flash drive to Congress. That's what we're going to do. And we named names, we named lawyers, we named judges, we named businesses, we named companies, we named all kinds of different things. Because remember, I was a notary years ago, and I seen a lot of things. And I also worked when I left the New Jersey State Police as an automotive technician for 25 years. I also worked as a person in elections and the local place, the local county. And I also was part-time at mortgage liens and tax liens. So I seen a lot of things, and I don't know if they fixed them. I don't know if it's, changed or not. All I know is I'm not seeing anything anymore, but that doesn't mean that it's still not going on. When it was pushed underground,
Right.
it just means it's just hidden from the public. It's still going
Right.
on. And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring out. I know there's a lot of things out there that people are going to get mad about, but you know what? Like you said, both parties are equally to blame. Both of them.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, my friend, let's go. Let's set up another celebrity. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Have a great night, and it's great joining you again. And sorry about the Zoom. I'm probably going to have to get another setup, something that's definitely going to work, because it's a shame that I didn't get to see Greg Martin face to face, even though I've been watching on Zoom the whole interview and all. It would have been better if all three of us could see each other and react accordingly. But thanks again for inviting me. I had a blast always, and what a thrill it was to finally get to meet Greg Martin and talk to him about the band, because it's been one of my favorites for years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry about the time, because he got confused on the time. And sometimes that happens with celebrities, guys. You got to understand that we say at a certain time, 8 o'clock. Sometimes they'll say, oh no, we'll do 7 o'clock. I didn't even know that. So if I wasn't down here, I would have never saw him. So that's why I'm always an hour early.
Yeah, no, that's good. You were. I was actually setting up my my lights for the studio here, not knowing that I wasn't going to need them after all. But next time we'll have.
That's okay. All right. We'll talk to you later, Mike. Take care. Everybody else have a great week.
Right.
Thanks for tuning in. Connie, I'll talk to you soon. God bless everybody out there. And the storms that are coming, please take shelter and do the right things. Make sure you take care of your family, you take care of your pets, and make sure you got a lot of food and shelter and water ready to go. Bye, everybody.
Thanks again, everybody.